Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some Tales from Tech Support. Our first story today comes to us from Katha757. Sorry for fixing their problems. Let's jump right in. This is a story about a time I literally saved a hospital's network and got in trouble for doing it. I will do my absolute best not to embellish facts, but bear in mind this was a bit ago and exact dialogue has been lost to my not so great memory. Also, I'm terrible at formatting on Reddit. Sorry if this looks terrible. Also, sorry for the length. This is going to be a long story. Backstory: late 2019, I started my networking career in my first big boy networking job as an L2 network engineer. I worked for a medium-sized tech company in a different department prior to this new position. But after expressing my interest and lots of personal training, I managed to land a job in their tiny networking department. I was ecstatic. Networking was exactly what I wanted to do, and this was my foot in the door. The pay was absolutely abysmal, and management was overbearing, but it'll look great on the resume. At this point, I was nearing a decade at this company and had received numerous awards for multiple different things. I was well known and well liked. Getting the job was a piece of cake once I was ready. One thing worth mentioning is that this tech company had offices all over the continent, one of which was in my city. This wasn't the headquarters, mind you, but just a satellite office for service desk. I worked from home for many years without issue, but after a while, I started to get cabin fever and asked if I could, at my own discretion, pop into the office occasionally to get out of the house. This was approved, and I set up a desk at the office for whenever I felt like stretching my feet. Then I got this networking position. There were no networking coworkers in my office, just little old me. My boss was in another city far away. You might be thinking, OP, that must mean you can continue your work from home arrangement, right? You're not missing anything at the office. Nope, my direct boss had to drive an hour to his office because he was part of management, and if he had to suffer, so did I. I had to drive to the office just because. Although this didn't sit well with me, it was what it was. This just shows what kind of mindset management had. Fast forward to mid-2020. COVID is in full swing and hospitals are starting to struggle. A couple of months prior, we had signed up a tiny hospital in a rural town about an hour away. One of the services we offered was network monitoring and remediation. And because I was the only network engineer within 500 miles, it was my responsibility to do stuff. They were extremely vague about what I would be asked to do and what we could dispatch a field tech to do, whatever gave them more control over me. Story: 3 p.m. I was starting to relax as the day was just about over, thoughts dancing in my head about what I'm going to do after work. Spoiler alert, nap. Then we received a P1 alert. The domain controller at the hospital went offline. More P1s start rolling in. Core switch stack went offline and took everything else with it. We received dozens of P1s for every device, and immediately a P1 bridge was spun up. Recognizing this was more than likely a network failure, and representing the network department, I jump on the bridge. Boss and I jump on, and we start our inspection to determine the scope of the outage. Nothing on the inside of the firewall is responding, period. Looking over our documentation and diagrams, it's evident the core switch had some sort of failure, but we weren't sure how bad this was. We got site contact on the line and verified the server room had power and the devices were powered. Everything checked out, and it was decided I needed to go on site. I pack up my tools, jump in the truck, and drive the hour out there. By this point, it's 4 a.m. 5 p.m., I roll into the parking lot and walk inside. I make my way to the server room and meet with site contact. I do a quick inspection of the equipment and everything is lit, but one thing I notice immediately is every single port that was enabled is flashing concurrently and consistently. Red flag. I set up my laptop and call into the bridge and let them know I'm on site. Let the troubleshooting begin. While boss and big boss are talking about potential issues and trying their best to think about troubleshooting steps, I'm already working. First thing I check is the firewall downlink. Checked out. I plug the switch back into the firewall and patch my laptop directly into the switch. When I pinged the switch management IP, it was dropping half the pings, and the time was all over the place, a couple of milliseconds up to several seconds each. This didn't make sense, and mentioned my findings to the people on the bridge. My boss goes quiet for a couple of seconds. "Are you working off to the side?" Yes, they need to get working, right? Shouldn't I be troubleshooting? Isn't that why I'm here? No, you're there as an extension of us. We need you to follow our exact instructions. Do not do anything on your own without us knowing about it first. I should mention that my cell phone was on speaker, so I could use both of my hands to type commands. Site contact, the technical director for the hospital, was sitting next to me helping me troubleshoot. He wanted this thing fixed and fixed now. He was a very patient and nice person, but there was a lot of pressure to get this working, and he was happy up until this point with what I was doing. When he heard my boss say that, he lost his crap. I put my phone on mute. Did they just say they don't want you to do anything? Sorry you had to hear that. I have no idea what the issue is, but I'm very confused why they don't want me troubleshooting this. That is completely unacceptable. How the hell are you supposed to help getting this working if you aren't allowed to do anything? Why are you even here then? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't care what they say, let's keep going, F them. Eventually, they started giving me troubleshooting commands, notably commands I already ran, and with the info I provided back, they determined the first switch in the core was faulty and needed to be replaced. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that this switch stack wasn't actually stacked. It was a daisy chain switch, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Unfortunately, it looks like the first switch is malfunctioning and not passing traffic properly. It'll need to be replaced. We'll go ahead and check on the warranty info and see if we can get one overnighted. At this point, this did not jive with what I was witnessing, but I had a hunch of what it could be. I hadn't witnessed one of these in the wild yet, but it might be. Hey guys, I need to put you on hold for a second. I muted my mic and talked directly to site contact. Look, I've got a sneaking suspicion that the switch is fine, but there could be something else going on called a broadcast storm. There is a really easy way to determine whether this is true or not, and what's the worst thing that could happen? We take down your network? We both got a good laugh out of that one. Yes, let's do it. What do we have to lose? What do we do? Start unplugging patch cables until we start getting replies back to my pings. If they stabilize, then it's a broadcast storm. If they don't, then this switch is probably faulty. I start the persistent ping, and we start unplugging cables while I keep an eye on the ping. We get to the very last cable, and up until this point we had no luck, but once we unplugged the SFP module, the switch magically stabilized. With a smirk on my face, looks like we found the cause of the issue. Your switch is fine, but we have to find where the loop is. Where does this fiber module go? That goes to an outbuilding with offices. I've got keys, we can go over there. Can we isolate it and get the hospital back online? Yes, let's plug these cables back in, and everything should be okay very quickly once the APs power back up. By this point, I've been on hold for maybe 2 minutes. I unmute my mic. Hey guys, we found the cause of the issue. The switch is fine. This is a broadcast storm. A broadcast storm? What the hell is that? Is that even a thing? That doesn't sound real. Yes, it's a real thing, and it's not good. OP, why do you think that? I explained my troubleshooting steps. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a broadcast storm to me. Go to the offices with site contact and see if we can locate the loop. Stay on the line with us so we can guide you. Yeah, okay, I roll. We verify everything in the hospital has started coming back up, and off to the other building we go. We go through several IDFs until we isolate the loop to a single section of offices that the site contact didn't have a key to. Disconnect them. If they effed up, they can deal with no internet until I can get in there and find out what this loop is. We disconnected the offices and hooked up the outbuilding back to the network and verified everything was good. At this point, it's midnight. We verify everything is good and I leave. Got home at 2 a.m., back up at 8 a.m. to get back to work, with the expectation of at least a high five. Boss and Big Boss, OP, we need to have a word about your actions last night. Sure, what's up? You didn't include us in any of your troubleshooting. We were effectively in the dark. We told you earlier that we didn't want you doing anything without us telling you. You went rogue. I went rogue? I saved them several $1,000s instead of replacing a switch that was perfectly good. We got their network up in a fraction of the time it would have had I followed your directions. What exactly did I do wrong there? None of that matters. You're too inexperienced to be making these decisions and taking troubleshooting in your own hands. You made you, me, and boss look very unprofessional. You need to learn to follow directions. Okay, sorry for fixing their problems. Unfortunately for them, site contact was extremely happy with my performance and extremely pissed at my bosses. His email said as much to the account executive and bosses. He called me up personally and thanked me for my hard work that night and gave an update on what he found. The next morning, he heard complaints of no internet in those offices. He went over and found an idiot had plugged a patch cable from one wall port into another, no idea why. He lit that employee up about the $2,000 bill he was about to receive. He was pissed when I offhand mentioned that I was reprimanded for fixing their issues. This is a perfect example of management. Now, I'm no networking specialist, but I know that loop prevention can be enabled on most switches, so it makes me wonder why it wasn't done in this situation. I mean, users are gonna use, so you gotta build your network correctly. One user doing something stupid that brings down your whole network seems like a really big problem that could have been avoided. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our next story today comes to us from the Lightning Count 1, password working exactly as intended. Let's jump right in. Got a call today from a user who used the self-service password reset site, but now is unable to log into a vendor program. This vendor program does not use the same password as 80 creds, so simple call, right? Yeah, no. Thanks for calling IT, this is OP, how can I be of assistance? Yeah, I reset my password on the password reset website, but now my vendor program won't let me log in. Are you trying your new password you just set on the password site? Yes, that's why. The vendor program password does not change when you reset your Citrix email password. You will need to use your old password for it. 10 seconds of silence. My new password still is not working for vendor program. I guess what I said did not come through. Sorry about that. Your vendor program password does not change when you reset your Citrix email password. You will need to use your old password for that. 30 seconds of silence. Hello? Yes, sorry, 1 second. Typing. Yeah, my password is still not working on vendor program. Your old password? No, my new. Is my phone cutting out? No, you sound just fine. Yeah. So your vendor program password does not reset when you update your Citrix or email passwords. Try the old password you had for vendor program before you reset your Citrix password today. Long silence. Oh, that worked. Why did the password I reset not work for vendor program and I have to use this old password? Audible exasperated sigh. Because vendor program has its own credentials that do not change when you reset your Citrix email password. I will give you exactly one guess as to what happens next. So why did I have to use my old password? Is something wrong with my account? No. I guess I'm failing to properly explain this and I apologize for that. When you reset your password today, you used this website, correct? Gibbs password reset website. Yes. Okay, that only resets the intranet, email, Citrix, and our company branded programs. It does not change these 3 vendor programs' passwords. So when you reset your password on password site, it does not change the vendor program password. A full minute of silence with me repeatedly trying to get her attention. Oh, sorry, I'm here. So what's wrong with my account? Nothing. Your password is working exactly as intended. I hung up the phone and wrote it up as, helped user get into vendor program using her old password. She either was not listening or simply failed to understand that vendor program and AD were separate entities, terminated call, and cried myself to sleep. No one called to complain, and we never heard back from her today. That user is the kind of person that looks at you and says, yeah, I'm not a computer person, as if we couldn't tell. Just to wrap this one up though, right at the end it says that they didn't get another call from that person today. What about tomorrow? Our last story today comes to us from Tubus61. New boss, new hell. Let's jump right in. Many years ago, I was part of the Unix tech support team managing a set of high-end IBM Power servers, P595s. Our team leader was a cool guy who was a real IBM geek. He was also not confrontational in any way. The company employed a new IT director, and in the way these things always go, he decided to stamp his authority on the data center and called in contractors for an audit of the systems. This happened to be on the week our team lead was heading off on vacation. The auditors turned up and the IT director told us to hand over all the root passwords for the systems as the auditors had scripts they needed to run. Everything went well until just before the end of normal hours. The auditors kicked off their script on a server and the terminal hung. There were mutterings, a shrug of shoulders, and a comment of, "It sometimes does that, it will be a while running, just kick off the others and we can grab the results in the morning." They then ran their scripts on the remaining servers, noted the hanging sessions, disconnected, and left for the day. Then the phone started ringing. Systems were unavailable and customers were complaining. We couldn't get logged into any of the systems. All of the connections we tried just timed out. The crap well and truly hit the fan. And eventually, a call was received from our team lead along the lines of, "My phone is going mad with alerts, what's happening?" A brief explanation was given and we tried to gain access while he guided us on the phone. Nothing. Eventually he said, "Hang on, I'll be there in around 90 minutes. Apparently, he went to the airline desk, rescheduled the family flights, booked his family into a hotel, and then hired a car to drive back to the data center. What had happened was the auditors had run their scripts on the virtual I/O servers on an LPAR partition server. In the heading of the scripts was a note specifically saying, "Do not run this script on a VIO server." The script caused a component of the VIO code to panic and drop the VIO server. Not an issue if you have a redundant VIO server, but big issue if you run the script on every VIO server one after the other. Instead of looking at why the first session crashed, the auditors just carried on and ran their script on every VIO server in the data center. Every partition lost access to both networks and storage, and we uncovered another issue which was preventing us accessing the VIO server console from the hardware management console. Our team leader left his family at an airport hotel, drove over 90 minutes from the airport, and then spent a good 4 hours fixing the issues, documenting root cause before he left to go back the 90 or so minutes to the airport and fly out a day late on his vacation. I learned 2 things that day. First, some managers put in charge of tech support teams should never have any responsibility given to them. And second, very few companies truly recognize the value of the quiet, unassuming people who have exceptional technical expertise and dedication. The team leader left the company about a year later, and to the best of my knowledge, was never rewarded for his efforts that night. Ah yes, outside experts are always better than the people who have been using that equipment forever. Now OP, your boss let themselves get screwed in this case though. If they came back to do work and pushed back their vacation, that's something they should have taken up with their higher-ups and gotten compensated for it. Absolutely. Check out all 3 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.